Tonight, let's begin with the quiet of the lakeside town. The house rests where it always does, but beyond it lies the town itself, settled gently along the edge of the water. It is not a large town, and it does not try to become one. It stretches slowly beside the lake, as though it never intended to grow beyond what it already is. In the evening, when daylight begins to thin, the town changes in ways that are almost invisible. There is no sudden dimming, no dramatic shift. Instead, the brightness simply loosens its hold. Shadows lengthen without effort. Sounds soften before anyone notices they have softened. The streets are narrow and unhurried. They do not carry heavy traffic. They do not echo with constant motion. During the day, a few footsteps pass, a few doors open and close, but by nightfall the streets learn how to be still. Windows glow briefly before they grow dark. One by one, lights disappear. Not all at once, not in any coordinated way. Each home decides quietly that the day has ended. There is a small bakery near the center of town. By evening, its windows are no longer bright. The scent of bread fades into memory. The door closes without sound. Even the sign above it seems to rest. Farther down the road stands a modest post office. Its walls hold the warmth of the day for a little while longer, before surrendering to the night air. No one lingers outside. No one waits for letters after dark. The lake curves around the town like a slow breath. It does not rush toward the shore. It does not retreat. It remains exactly where it belongs, steady and patient. At this hour, the water reflects only the faintest suggestion of light. The moon, if visible, does not demand attention. It rests above the town without commentary. The air becomes different after sunset. It feels wider, though nothing has expanded. It feels softer, though nothing has changed shape. The body responds to this shift without being told. Footsteps, if they happen at all, become gentler. Doors close with care. Even the smallest sounds seem aware that they are entering a quieter space. There is no urgency left in the town, no expectation, no unfinished conversations hanging in the air. The day has already done what it could. The trees along the road lean inward slightly, their branches forming quiet shapes against the darkening sky. Leaves no longer shimmer, they rest. Somewhere in the distance, a porch light remains on longer than the others. It does not flicker. It simply stays lit for a while, as though keeping quiet company with the night. The town does not sleep abruptly. It settles. Windows grow darker. Curtains draw. The last footsteps fade. The sound of a screen door closing becomes rare. Even the wind behaves differently here. It does not move in strong currents. It slips between buildings softly, touching walls and rooftops without disturbance. The lake continues to hold the edge of the town. Its surface does not ripple much. If there is movement, it is so slight that it seems imagined. No one stands at the shore demanding answers. No one watches for change. The water and the town understand each other well enough to remain still. And as the evening deepens, the entire place feels suspended in something gentle and steady, as though it has entered a space where nothing more is required. As the evening deepens, the town settles into a quieter rhythm, one that does not announce itself, but becomes noticeable in the way sound changes. It is not that everything stops at once. Instead, each movement grows softer, each presence less defined, until what remains feels gentle rather than active. The streets, which earlier held the light weight of daytime footsteps, now rest without expectation. No car passes through. No hurried voices carry between buildings. The pavement holds the memory of the day but does not replay it. It cools slowly beneath the darkening sky. Houses along the road grow dim in their own time. One window fades before another. A porch light remains for a few minutes longer than expected, casting a pale glow across the wooden boards below it, then finally switches off without ceremony. Nothing dramatic marks the change. The light simply disappears, and the dark accepts the space it leaves behind. Curtains shift into place inside the homes. Doors close with a softness that suggests familiarity rather than finality. A chair near a window remains angled slightly toward the glass, as though someone had been sitting there not long ago. The impression of presence lingers gently, but it does not insist on being noticed. The town understands how to let the day end without resistance. There are no last-minute tasks carried loudly into the night, no sudden bursts of energy. Even the smallest sounds seem aware of the hour and behave accordingly. Somewhere a kitchen light glows faintly as dishes are set down one by one. The sound is muted, not sharp. A cupboard closes without echo. Water runs briefly and then stops. These sounds do not disturb the air. They fold into it. The roads between houses feel wider at night, not because they have changed, but because nothing occupies them. Without motion, space feels larger. The quiet stretches across intersections and around corners without interruption. A small bench near the town square remains empty. During the day it may hold conversation, but now it holds only shadow. The wood has cooled. The air around it feels still. Even the mailboxes seem quieter, lined up along the edge of the road without purpose. They no longer wait for letters. They stand in the dark without expectation. The lake remains close enough to be sensed even when unseen. Its presence influences the air. There is a faint coolness carried inward from the shoreline. It does not rush. It simply settles around the houses like an extra layer of stillness. No one stands outside calling to another. No one lingers at a gate. Conversations that once moved between neighbors have already found their way indoors and dissolved. The town does not feel abandoned. It feels complete. Windows no longer glow except for a rare, gentle lamp that remains lit in a distant room. Even that light seems content to stay small. It does not press against the darkness. It rests within it. The streets hold their quiet without effort. The sky above grows deeper in tone, though it does not demand attention. Stars begin to appear gradually, spaced and patient. Nothing competes here, not light, not sound, not movement. And as the evening settles further, the entire town seems to breathe more slowly, as though it understands that this hour belongs to rest rather than action. The lake rests beside the town the way a steady thought rests beside the mind, not pushing forward, not asking to be named, simply present. Even when you cannot see it, you can feel the lake in the air. The evening carries a faint coolness from the shoreline, and it moves through the streets quietly, slipping between houses without disturbance. At night, the lake does not try to look like anything. It does not sparkle. It does not perform. It holds its darkness calmly, as though darkness is a natural state and not something to be corrected. The water becomes a deep, quiet surface where light is allowed to soften and disappear. If the moon is there, its reflection is gentle and incomplete. It does not stretch across the water in a bright line. It rests in fragments, as if even the moon understands that nighttime is not for sharpness. The reflection does not demand to be admired. It is simply a pale suggestion that the sky is present above. The shoreline is quiet, too. Rocks remain where they always have. Grass leans toward the water as though listening. The sand, if there is any, holds no footprints now. It has already forgotten the day. It has already returned to stillness. Sometimes the lake moves, but the movement is small. It is not a wave that announces itself. It is the slightest change, a slow adjustment, the kind of motion that feels more like breathing than traveling. The surface shifts, then settles again, never rushing, never arriving anywhere else. The town seems to lean toward that steadiness. Houses sit along the roads as if they have learned over many nights how to quiet themselves in the presence of water. Street corners hold their shadows without tension. Window frames stop reflecting. Doors remain closed, not in a guarded way, but in a restful one. The lake does not respond to the town, and yet the town feels held by it. There is a kind of quiet agreement between them. The town does not try to fill the night with sound, and the lake does not try to interrupt the quiet with motion. Each one remains, and in that remaining, the air itself becomes calmer. When the wind passes over the water, it changes the surface only briefly. It does not tear it open. It does not create harsh noise. It skims across and then moves on, leaving the lake to return to its steady state. The wind continues toward the town, but it arrives softened, as though it has been smoothed by the water before it reaches the streets. There is a peacefulness in how little the lake changes. It reminds the body that nothing is required in order for something to exist. The lake does not earn its stillness. It does not prove its worth. It remains quiet because it is allowed to be quiet. The sky above grows deeper as the evening continues. Stars appear slowly, one at a time, then another until the darkness carries a gentle pattern. The stars are not bright enough to disturb the night. They sit at a distance, quiet and patient, with no need to come closer. The lake accepts the sky as it is. It does not mirror everything. It reflects only what the night allows. Sometimes it reflects a faint star. Sometimes it reflects nothing at all. Either way, it remains unchanged. The water does not become more meaningful when it reflects something. It is enough on its own. The town feels the same way. Its streets do not become important because someone walks on them. Its houses do not become valuable because lights are on. Everything is allowed to exist without needing proof. That is part of what makes this place so gentle at night. If you imagine standing near the shore, you would hear very little. Not silence exactly, but a quiet that contains a few small sounds. The faintest movement of water at the edge, a distant tree shifting slightly, the soft settling of air as it cools. Sounds so small they do not interrupt thought. Sounds that do not demand attention. The lake is good at this. It does not invite the mind to solve anything. It does not offer questions. It does not hold mystery that needs to be understood. It is simply water in the dark, resting where it belongs. And because the lake does not ask for the mind, the body begins to settle more easily. The shoulders loosen. The jaw releases. Breathing slows without instruction. The heart does not need to push forward. There is nothing to chase. There is nowhere else to be. The town beside the lake becomes quieter still, not because it is trying, but because quiet becomes natural in a place like this. The streets remain empty without feeling lonely. The houses remain closed without feeling sealed. The air remains cool without feeling sharp. The lake continues to rest beside everything, steady and calm, holding the night without effort, allowing time to pass without pressure, allowing stillness to feel safe. As the night settles fully over the town and the lake, nothing changes in any noticeable way. The streets remain empty, the houses remain closed, the water remains dark and still. The sky holds its quiet pattern of distant stars. Everything continues exactly as it has been, without effort and without announcement. There is no final sound that marks the hour, no bell, no signal, no sudden silence. The quiet does not deepen sharply. It simply continues, steady and unchanged. Inside the homes, light has faded into softness. A single lamp may remain somewhere, glowing faintly in a corner of a room, not bright enough to disturb the dark, not dim enough to disappear entirely. It rests there quietly, as if keeping gentle company with the night rather than pushing it away. The roads no longer carry even the memory of movement. They do not anticipate footsteps. They do not hold expectation. They lie beneath the sky in complete stillness, cooled by the evening air and untroubled by the absence of sound. The lake remains beside the town, neither closer nor farther than before. Its surface does not ripple with urgency. If there is motion at all, it is so small that it feels more like breathing than movement. The water adjusts slightly, then becomes calm again, as though nothing ever disturbed it. The shoreline rests without disturbance. Grass no longer bends. Stones remain in place. The shape of the land feels settled, content in its outline. There is no need for alteration, no need for change. The air has grown cooler, but not cold. It carries a softness that moves gently through streets and between houses. It does not push against windows. It does not insist on entry. It simply surrounds everything evenly. Nothing is unfinished here. Nothing waits to be completed. The town does not measure the day that has passed. It does not prepare loudly for the morning that will come. It remains suspended in the present, steady and quiet. Breathing becomes slower without instruction. Shoulders ease downward without command. The body begins to understand that there is no task left to perform. There is no decision left to make. There is no movement required. The lake does not react. The town does not respond. Everything remains where it belongs. Even thought begins to soften. Ideas no longer hold sharp edges. They drift more slowly, less clearly, until they feel distant and unimportant. There is no need to follow them. There is no need to finish them. The night does not grow heavier. It does not close in. It simply stays, wide and patient, holding the town and the lake together in the same quiet space. A faint breeze may pass once more over the water, barely touching the surface before continuing on. It leaves no mark behind. The lake returns to stillness immediately, as if stillness is its most natural state. The houses remain steady in the dark. Their shapes are gentle outlines rather than firm structures. They no longer appear as separate places. They feel like part of the same calm landscape. There is no boundary here between awake and asleep. There is only a gradual softening, a slow easing of awareness into something lighter and less defined. Nothing concludes. Nothing announces its end. The town remains. The lake remains. The quiet remains. And in that steady remaining, there is space for everything to loosen gently, to settle without effort, and to fade without being noticed. Nothing needs to be done. Nothing needs to be finished. Everything simply continues, calm and unchanged, until awareness grows softer and softer, and the night holds what is left without interruption.